Good evening, guys. Tonight we're going to go over 5.3, adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. If at all you guys don't understand, please make sure you put a question mark by that note and we will go over it tomorrow. However, make sure you're taking notes. That way you'll be ready for tomorrow. The objectives tonight, is to define a polynomial in related terms and to find the sum, difference, and product of polynomials. So like I said before, make sure you're ready to take notes and then go ahead and start this video. A polynomial in N is an expression of this form. Okay? When a monomial is one term, for instance 2x squared, a binomial is two terms, so for instance x to the fourth minus 81, and a trinomial is three terms, or x squared minus 3x plus 4. Like terms are simply monomials with the same variable raised to the same power. So if you look below at this right here, which ones of these have the same power? Those are the ones that you can add and subtract. Now you do that just like adding and subtracting coefficients. Okay, so obviously we would see that the x cubed would be the same, the like term monomial, and we'd see that the x squareds are also like terms. So we can go ahead and add those together. Add it using a horizontal format is pretty easy because you just make sure that this plus sign is going into everything, which doesn't change a lot because they're negatives. So if I was actually going to try to do this, okay, I would underline like terms. So here's one, here's one, okay, and x squared, here's one, x's. Okay, and then the coefficients. Okay, so if you want just to make it a little bit neater, we can tell them apart. So there we have all the like terms. So 4x cubed plus negative 5x cubed would be negative x cubed. All right, 4x squared minus 2x squared would be a positive 2x squared. Negative 3x minus 4x would be negative 7x, and then 10 minus 4 would be a positive 6. Okay, so that's how we're going to add these different monomials. Now if we wanted to add using a vertical format, we would align like terms and add the old-fashioned way. So that we would take this monomial here and we'd pop it right into there. This one would go down there, and notice that each of these x cubes are over each other, these x squareds are over each other, the x's, and then the 5 and the 7. So if we were going to do that, we would just add straight down. We get 5x cubed, negative 2x squared, negative 4x, and negative 2. And there you'd have, you would add both of those. So let's look at subtracting. Now the important thing with subtracting is using this minus sign here. This has to go into everything. So this would turn into a negative, this would turn into a positive, and this would turn into a positive because a minus times a minus would be a positive. So we would do the same thing using like terms, but you have to make sure that that minus sign is distributed into everything. Okay, so we'd have 3y squared minus 4y plus 7 minus 6y squared plus 6y plus 13. Go ahead and put together like terms, and you would have your answer with subtraction. Okay, we can also do it vertically. Again, we place everything over, and then again, remember this minus sign here is going to go into everything. So that's going to go into all of the first subtractions and additions to the next one. So doing that would change things. Now we would go ahead and add all of them together. So we'd have 7x cubed minus 2x squared minus 2x plus 15. Okay? Basically, you have to turn a subtraction problem into an addition by adding the opposite. So you guys go ahead, pause the video, give this a shot. We'll go ahead, we'll go over the answers, but make sure you give this a good shot so you know what you're doing. Hopefully you pause this video and you tried these on your own. That way you can get better at this. But if you didn't and you're just moving forward, you're not doing the right thing. So let's look at this. T squared plus 5t squared would be 6t squared. All right, negative 6t minus t would be minus 7t. And 2 minus 8 would be negative 6. So that would be that answer. For this, remember this negative is going into everything. So that's going into these three right here. So 9d cubed minus d cubed would be 8d cubed. Then we can go with 8d. Notice that there's no other 13d squared. Notice there's no other d squared, so that's just going to stay. All right, and that's going to be positive because of that negative sign. All right, we go to d's now. Notice there is no other d, so we're just going to have that 8d. And then we have the negative 3 plus 4. We're going to get positive 1. So this would be the answer to the second one. Now, polynomial multiplication. Polynomial multiplication is basically a repeated application of the distributive property. So if we have these two polynomials here, we're going to distribute them into each one of these three items. So we have 3x squared, 4x, and negative 1. So we're going to distribute that into all of these. So the first one is 6x times 3x squared plus 6x times 4x plus 6x minus 1. Okay, or negative 1, sorry. So do that multiplication, okay, and then you would get 18x cubed plus 24x squared minus 6x. And again, it's minus because 6x times negative 1 is negative 6x. So that's why that's a minus sign there. Okay? Now polynomial multiplication, again, we're going to repeat those steps, but notice we have a binomial here. That we have the two terms in each of the parentheses. So from here, okay, we can do the same thing, all right, where we're going to just repeat this process. So 2x times 5x minus 1, and then 3 times 5x minus 1. All right, and notice this is also what we do with FOILing. So if we skip to this next step here, that 10x squared is product of the first term, the negative 2x is product of the outside terms, product of the inside terms is the 15x, and product of the last terms is the negative 3. So we would come up with 10x squared plus 13x, because again, these are the similar ones right here, the 2x and the 15x, and then we'd have the minus 3 at the end there. Okay, that's also known as FOILing, as you guys know that from this year. Okay? Now, special products. In this process of using the FOIL method on products of certain types of binomials, we see specific patterns that lead to special products. We see the square of a binomial when something has the addition sign in here. Notice, addition. Okay, we have a plus b squared. That's going to always be a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, no matter what is in those what is in those parentheses. The next one, okay, we have a minus sign now, so we have a difference of squares. Okay, so a minus b squared is always going to be a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. The product of the sum and difference of two terms, okay, is always going to end up being a plus b times a minus b is always going to be a squared minus b squared. All right, pause this video and make sure you write these down because they're important to have. So let's try one. Multiply negative 2y squared plus 3y minus 6 and y minus 2 in a vertical format. All right, so we're going to put that in a vertical format, and notice we're going to multiply 2y squared, negative 2y squared plus 3y minus 6 by negative 2 first. So we're going to do negative 2 times negative 6, negative 2 times 3y, and negative 2 times negative 2y squared. That's what we will get. Now, because we did that with the negative 2, our next step is going to be multiplying by y. Because again, we have to distribute each of these two terms up here, each of these two terms into everything. Okay? So now we're going to go with the y. We'll get negative 6y, we'll get positive 3y squared, and we'll get negative 2y cubed. Okay? At this point, we're going to combine like terms, just like our vertical addition. Notice 12 is the only term without a y, so we're going to just keep the 12. Negative 6y plus negative 6y is going to be negative 12y. 4y squared plus 3y squared is 7y squared. And then we're going to drop the negative 2y cubed. And that's how you multiply. Okay? You guys pause the video and try this one. Okay? You can either do it in horizontal format like we're going to show, or if you want to try that vertical format again, go ahead and give it a try. So, here's our horizontal format. Again, we're going to take this x, and we're going to multiply this x into everything first. Okay? So we get x times 3x squared, which is going to be 3x cubed. Then we get x times negative 2x, which will give us negative 2x squared. Then we're going to take x times 4 and get 4x. All right. After that, then we're going to take the 3. And we're going to start with the 3. We're going to put the 3 into 3x squared and get plus 9x squared. The 3 into negative 2x and get negative 6x. And the 3 and the 4 and get 12. Guys, please feel free to pause the video and rewind if you're not following it. That's one of the good things about having a video. But then we're going to put like terms together, and we're going to come up with 3x cubed plus 7x squared minus 2x plus 12. All right? Now, multiplying 3 binomials. Okay, this is basically like multiplying 2, except you're starting with 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 at a time, right? We're going to do x times x, which will give us x squared. Then we're going to take x times 1, so we're foiling here, and get 1x. Negative 5 times x, okay, we're going to get negative 5x, and negative 5 times 1, and that's going to give us negative 5. Okay, so now we're going to do that all times x plus 3. Okay, notice before I do that, I put my 2 like terms together right there. All right, and now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take the x plus 3 times x squared minus 4x minus 5, and I'm going to plug my x into everything. Okay, and then I'm going to also put my 3 into everything. So I'm going to add 3x squared, subtract 12x, and subtract 15. Okay, put like terms together. And there you have it. All right? You guys try finding the product of this. Pause the video and go ahead and give it a shot on your extra piece of paper. If you were going to do this vertically, you could do it this way. All right, you make sure you do the 2 into everything. All right, so this 2 would go there, there, and then multiply it there, and then you go with the x and do the same thing to everything. You should come out with those 2 and then put like terms together, and that would be your final answer. So if you got that, you're on the right path. All right, try this one as well. Okay, pause the video, please, and give it a shot. Okay, once you did that, you should have put the first 2 terms together. So you should FOIL these. So fronts, okay, outsides, insides, lasts, and you would have came out with this. And then you got to do the same thing with the a plus 6. Okay, you put that a into everything. So the a is going into this, and then into this one. And then the 6 is also over here. 6 is going into all of these as well. Okay? And that's what you should have come up with. Put like terms together and you get an answer. All right, guys, so tomorrow, come ready to class. We'll go over more tomorrow, and have a great rest of your night.